All right, this next object that we're going to build is very similar to the archway. It's a set of French doors. And we are going to build the French doors inside, so that is going to be me making some stuff up instead of following the drafting. You can see that it just says French doors in here, and that's because we already had French doors that already existed when we built the show, so I didn't need to draft them because they were already built. So instead we're going to start by building a wall that's 10 foot 3 inches thick, or 8 foot 3 inches thick by 10 feet tall. So I'm going to set this over here, and I'm going to start building that. So I'm going to make a rectangle that's 8 feet by 3 inches. Grab the push-pull tool, pull it up 10 feet, and we have a wall. Amazing. Our doors, I'm going to make a square somewhere in the center again, and I'm going to make this 6 foot 8 inches by, let's see, by 5 feet. By 6 foot 8 inches by 5 feet. There we go. Now I'm going to use the selection tool, double click on that so that I just select that item, not the whole thing. I'm going to grab the center bottom with the move tool, move it to the center bottom. I'm going to grab the push pull tool and I'm going to push that until it disappears. Okay. There is a little item on the top that's a curtain rod. So it's 5 inches out and a little wider than the door. In fact, it is 6 feet. So it's 6 feet. We're just going to make that a solid thing coming off the wall. So it's 6 feet by 5 inches, and it's center, and it's also 1 foot 11 from the top of the flat. Okay. So we're going to make a rectangle that is 6 foot 5 inches, 6 foot by 5 inches, excuse me. And then I'm going to push pull it until it's 8 inches tall. Okay. And that item, I'm going to grab the move tool, and I'm going to grab the selection tool and triple click on it. I'm going to go ahead and make this a component, I don't really want it to get all sticky on me. And then I'm going to grab the back center point and I'm going to put it up against the wall at the top center. Okay. Now I'm going to grab it top center and that same point and drag it straight down. And once I get the blue dashed line that tells me I'm going straight up and down, I'm going to type in 1 foot 11 inches and hit enter. And now that's in the right spot. And minus all of the decorative molding, that is all we need to do for this flat off of the drafting. But we're also going to build some French doors to go inside here. So I'm going to go ahead and triple click on the wall and shift click on the valance here and make them a component so that they stay together and they don't interfere with my grand plans. Now, I am going to go ahead and make 2 French doors that are opposite each other. So I only really need to build one. So I'm going to grab my tape measure tool and I'm going to replicate this. I'm going to move it to right there, which is 2 foot 6, but it's actually the center of the doorway. You can see that I'm moving it until it snaps to that spot and it becomes a circle instead of a square. That tells me it's the midpoint. So I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, and I put that, you can see up here that I put that in the front of the doorway. So I'm going to grab the catty corner of it, the back over here, and I'm going to pull this out until I intersect that line. And I know that it's making the right shape because it looks like it's on the floor and it's matching the other corner and it's hitting the intersection here and here. I am going to pull that all the way up and fill that door space. So that's the size of my door. It's 3 inches wide and doors really aren't 3 inches wide. So I'm going to make it skinnier. I'm going to go ahead and push it 1.25 inches so that it's a little heftier than a normal looking door, but it's not taking up the whole space. I am going to now grab the offset tool and I'm going to offset that. Let's let's do 4.5 inches. Oh, I don't like that. 4 inches. There we go. I am going to grab the push-pull tool, and I'm going to push that in another 0.25 inches. And then I'm going to grab the offset tool again, and I'm going to pull it in 1 inch. Push-pull, push it in another 0.25 inches. So this is giving us a nice step look to our door. And at this point, I want to create panels so that it looks like it has window panels. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to make sure that I don't grab the top edge, but I grab the edge that is actually on the surface I'm going to draw, and make myself a guideline. Find the center point up here and click on it. And this is one of those times that you want to be really careful that you haven't accidentally made, and it would be very easy, I'm going to go ahead and do it for you now, to accidentally make a guideline that's floating off of your wall. You want your guideline to intersect that wall so that when you draw on it, it will actually draw on it, right? So I'm going to go ahead and make a line from that intersection all the way to this intersection, and I'm zooming in just to make sure I'm hitting the right spot. So now that I have 2 panels, I'm going to use the offset tool and make it at 1 inch. Offset tool again, 1 inch. And, you know, I've changed my mind, actually. I'm not going to do that. I am going to do, instead, I'm going to grab the push-pull tool, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. I got to the back end, but it didn't cut out, so because there's too many lines, so I'm going to grab the selection tool and go ahead and delete that surface and the surface behind it. So now I have an open door. And I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to look straight up at the surface. And instead of doing a subtractive method for the rest of this door, I'm going to do it additively because I think it might be a little easier. So I'm going to grab the center point of this edge and match it to the center point here so that I have the center. I'm going to make a 1 inch by 1 inch square somewhere in the middle here. 1, 1. Oh. Do you see how I overshoot the edge right there? That's not good. If I overshoot the edge, I'm not going to be able to move it without it distorting the surface that's on there. So I'm double click, and I'm going to grab the move tool, and I'm going to grab the center of this side and see if I can find the center point of the line. Excuse me. So I'm going to put that in the center, and then I'm going to push or pull this till it intersects the bottom. And now I'm going to do a similar thing at the bottom. I'm going to grab this, I'm going to make a 1 inch by 1 inch square, grab my selection tool and double click on it, measure, and I'm going to place it right here. I'm going to push pull it, and you know what, before I do that, I'm going to select it, make it a component, create, double click on it, push pull it all the way across, and this way I don't have to worry about it actually encountering or damaging anything else. And instead of putting it where it is, I'm going to grab it and use the move tool and put it just out of sight. I put it just under the bottom of this door. And I'm doing that for a reason. I'm going to let go so that it stays there, and I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to hit the M key. I'm going to grab it with the move tool. I'm going to hit the M key to grab the move tool. I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to hit the control key in order to copy it. I'm going to make it only on the blue axis, and I'm going to move it all the way up until once again it's just out of sight. And what that does is it allows me to evenly distribute copies through the door and have it equally distribute from the very top and the very bottom. So I'm going to hit divide 5, enter, and see what happens. That looks good, but it does look like they're kind of not enough. So I'm going to go divide 6, divide 7. I like that. Yes, I like that. No, I don't. Once I move forward a little bit, it looks a little too crowded. So I'm going to go back to divide 6. Here we go, divide 6. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to deselect all of that old stuff there. I'm going to right click and say make component, create. Now I'm going to grab the move tool and duplicate this component. Before I do, actually, I'm going to put a door handle on it. And I'm not going to do a very special door handle because that's kind of its own. Actually, let's go ahead and do. I'm going to do a rectangle. I'm going to pull that rectangle out. Then I'm going to make an arc in that rectangle. And make a second arc in that rectangle. Use the push-pull tool to push out and cut out the excess of both of the sides that I don't need. So now I have a door handle. And it doesn't really matter what size that door handle is. Make it kind of look like that in kind of that area, and you're fine. The reason I want to add a door handle is because both of these French doors have the door handle in the center. And I want to show you how to make sure that happens. So this is a component. When I made the door handle, I made sure to double click and go inside the component so that I was making it part of the door. So if I pick up this door and try to move it and hit the control key, and I try and place that component right next to my other component, the door handle is in the wrong place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this copy out and I'm going to grab the scale tool. I'm going to grab the center handle on the side and I'm going to begin to shrink that door down. And it's going to look really weird at first, but if I overshoot, it's going to stretch it the other way, and now I've flipped the door. Notice in your measurement section you have numbers as you move it, and it wants to stick to -1. That's a perfect mirror image of the first item that you have. You can also just type -1, and that's fine. I'm going to click so that I save that, grab my move tool, grab my bottom right hand corner and stick it to my other right hand corner, or my other bottom corner for my other door. And now I have 2 French doors with opposite handles, but I want to point out that I'm still a component. If I change one of these, the other one will still change. For instance, I'm going to go ahead and edit, delete guides, and I'm going to double click in here and I'm going to say that my handle was a bit too thick. So I'm going to grab one surface, I'm going to grab the push-pull tool, and I'm going to make it skinnier. And do you see how it happens in both doors? It's very useful and the most useful part of a component. In fact, I'm going to delete the part of this component that I no longer need that's down here. And up here, if I can see it. There we go. If you can't see them, if you buried it in there just a little bit, don't worry about it at all. If you can't see it, I'm not worried. So now I have the wall with the French doors inside of it. And you can see that as we made this, I designed those French doors 3-dimensionally and made it quite easy to build, right? Okay, don't forget to save it. File, save as, French doors, save, and we're done for